What's up, Texans fans? It's your man Chess White, aka Jargon 2, born and raised in H-Town, 1991, Lamar High School, University of Houston. Shout out to all my Houston people over there. In this video, we're going to talk about Week 6, Houston Texans going on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks. Another big game against another big NFC opponent. Now, the Seahawks are going to be starting off their season playing the Niners in the opener. Following up, they're going to be playing the Steelers in Week 2. Then they're going to go and play the Saints, Week 3, the Cardinals, Week 4, Buccaneers, and Jaguars before they play the Texans. So technically, this is going to be NFL Week 7. The Texans have a bye week after that Baltimore game. So Week 7, we're looking at the Texans going on the road to play the Seahawks, and we're just going to talk about this game straight up. I got mad respect for the Seahawks. Love their stadium. Got a great team history. Some great players on their team this year. They've been kind of up and down as of late. The Russell Wilson era lasted for a long time. They did get a ring out of it. Should have had two. We all know that story with Marshawn. Now, Russell Wilson's gone. Pete Carroll is gone. They've got Geno Smith the last couple years playing QB, but you weren't really convinced that that was the answer. So then this offseason, they bring in Sam Darnold. And Darnold is coming off of his best year of his career, resurrected his career in Minnesota, and led his team to a 14-2 record. Now, I think that Sam Darnold went into a terrible situation with the Jets. I always thought that he was a talented player. I didn't think that his physical skill set was extremely immense by any means, but he seemed to have a good understanding of the QB position in his time in college at USC. And when he went into the Jets, he went to an organization with a bad supporting cast, bad O-line, bad receivers, bad everything around him. And he got thrown to the Wolves, and he had to go on the typical journeyman career for a quarterback, spend some time in San Francisco, spend some time in Carolina, ride the bench a little bit, watch people play. But he's always had pretty good skills, good movement skills, good arm strength, good anticipation and accuracy, pretty good decision making. You don't win 14 games in the NFL unless you're a pretty solid QB all around. Now, is he ultra mobile? Is he going to run for 200 yards on you? Probably not. But just his ability to move around in the pocket and pick up first downs here and there, you have to be aware of that going into the game. And we played against Sam Darnold and those Vikings last year, and they absolutely whooped our ass. That was one of those games that got out of hand, and the Vikings had, players all over the place that we could not handle. We could not block Jonathan Greenard, who had left. We couldn't block Van Ginkel. We couldn't block any of these guys. The Texans are going to go on the road, and this is a primetime game. Okay, we've got the game kicking off at 9 p.m., and I'm really looking forward to this one. So I want to talk about, again, what does Houston have to do on offense? What do they have to do on defense to go and get a dub out of this game? This is a team that we don't know very well. And it's the same with all of these NFC West teams. So in the Texans and Seahawks history, they have played 6 times, and the Texans have won 1 time. Y'all probably remember that terrible game that Matt Schaub threw the pick 6 to Richard Sherman in Houston. And things have not gone well generally when we have played the Seahawks. But this is a completely different team, different season. And we're going to talk about the matchups and go through each roster. So let's start with that Seattle roster. Obviously mentioned Sam Darnold. Now in the backfield, you've got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. 2 extremely talented running backs. And this is a team that likely wants to be able to run the ball. And then they did draft a Texas kid, Jackson Smith-Njigba, a wide receiver from Ohio State. Very productive and very talented player. Now DK Metcalf is gone. Cooper Kupp is in the building. Well, their head coach is a defensive-minded head coach, McDonald, that they brought over from Baltimore, who we just talked about last week. I think Seattle is trying to reestablish that identity as a smash-mouth team with a dominant defense, running game, and a QB who's going to do just enough to manage the game, not turn the ball over, hit his receivers here and there. And Cooper Kupp is a very talented receiver who has won the Triple Crown as a receiver with the Rams. The Seahawks have the tools at the skill positions. Their problem, like the Texans last season, was the offensive line. Geno was having a problem in the pocket with being protected, especially up the middle, from what I understand. And that's why they drafted Gray Zabel in the first round, a player that a lot of people had a very high grade on coming from a smaller school, but felt like he had the versatility to play guard and center. And so hopefully the Seahawks are trying to shore up that interior offensive line. Now, the Texans' D-line is going to be, again, the strength of the team going into this game. And so it'll be very important to pressure Darnold and try to create turnovers throughout the course of the game. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in these games. By the time you get to this point in the season, you've got injuries, you've got teams on the uptick, you've got teams on the downswing, and it's just a matter of who's got more talent on their roster, for one, who's going to win the coaching battle, the quarterback battle, which offensive coordinator is going to call better plays and is going to be in more of a rhythm. And I think the talent that Houston has this year, we have the ability to go on the road and beat a team like Seattle, who isn't as dominant as they were during that Legion of Boom era, but is still a team you got to look out for. To me, Seattle is a true dark horse team to be a Super Bowl competitor this year. And in the second round, they took a player that I was very high on, Emin Wari from South Carolina, a safety with extremely good height, weight, speed, can hit, can cover, and seems to have a clean off-the-field sheet. I thought that the Texans had a chance of grabbing him, and I thought that he made a lot of sense for us. Now, we went and got Jaden Higgins. Still totally cool with that pick. Really excited to see all these different elements of the game play out against the Seahawks. So now let's take a look at that Seahawks defense. Starting with the defensive line, you got Byron Murphy, first-round pick out of UT, a player that I had as one of the top 5 players in his draft class, and he's been a dominant force in the interior. Really elite quickness, excellent prospect who was able to stop the run and rush the passer at defensive tackle. And the Seahawks fans, from what I understand, are pretty happy with that pick so far. Right next to him, you got big Leonard Williams. Now, he was a top 5 draft pick and spent a long time in New York, played for both the Jets and the Giants, and now the Seahawks brought him over. And, man, guy is just a really big problem up the middle. Like, those 2 defensive tackles are going to make it hard to run. Seattle has a lot of talented players on this defense. Really surprising that they got DeMarcus Lawrence, who played for over a decade for the Cowboys. And then you also got Boye Mafe, a pass rusher, second-round pick, who's very fast off the edge and very athletic. Now let's take a look at their secondary. Reek Woolen, absolute steal to grab him in the 5th round. Kobe Bryant, strong safety. Julian Love, a player who has gotten a lot of love as a free safety and seems to be a rangy ball hawk type player. Devin Witherspoon, one of my absolute favorite draft picks of the last few years. I thought that he was an outstanding prospect. Great tackler, awesome attitude, brought the juice, great in coverage, great speed. And you saw him in his rookie season. He just performed at a super high level and has started to become a cornerstone of their defense. Attacking this team is going to be difficult, and Houston is going to have to game plan and figure out who they think is going to be the weakest link, because these 2 starting corners are really going to be able to match up well against anybody. And with the interior talent that they have on the D-line, it is going to be tough to run against them. I don't know what the Seahawks' expectations are going into the season. You know, looking at their division, they've always got the Niners to deal with as sort of the kings of the NFC West. And there's always good games between these teams, as I mentioned during the Rams preview. To me, the Cardinals not so big of a threat at the moment, but the Rams are definitely someone to consider because you have to like Matt Stafford over Sam Darnold at the moment. Just like with the Texans O-line, it's not so much about having big names anymore. It's just about playing sound, fundamental football and playing as a unit with chemistry. They did go and pick up Jalen Milroe in the draft, a player that I was actually pretty high on, despite everybody analyzing the draft say that the dude cannot pass the ball, not accurate enough. I thought that he went into a perfect situation right here. Sit on the bench and learn and improve your accuracy and timing because he has got all the athleticism that you would want at QB if you can give him the time to just sit and develop for a while. So really looking forward to see what type of player he turns into if he can ever put it together. One of the most important things to talk about is the atmosphere. Seattle is generally the loudest stadium in the NFL to go and play in, and it creates all kinds of problems for your offense with timing, with using a silent count. Lots of teams will false start, and have motion penalties and formation penalties throughout the course of the game. And I think that the Seahawks shifting to that defensive identity really lends itself to that kind of stadium atmosphere that they have. When that defense is on the field on third downs, that crowd is going to get loud, and it's going to be hard in this game because this is a team that has a corner with the size to match up with Nico. Talking about Reek Woolen for a second. Now, their other corner, Witherspoon, is going to be really excellent at guarding smaller receivers. I do think that he could match up against Nico on a given play because he's got a great attitude on the field. But one of our most important players on the team is Nico Collins, and as he goes, the Texans go a lot of weeks. I don't see us being able to run over this team. I hope that Nick Caley has a good game plan going into this game, where he's able to just move the ball steadily down the field and put points on the board. You have to take what you can get against teams like this. The kicking game is a factor because you are talking about an open-air stadium with an extremely loud stadium crowd, as I was saying. So, it's going to be a test for Kaimi in this one, just to see, if that Seahawks defense is keeping us out of the end zone and if he's able to nail his field goals all game or not, if he's trying to hit them from long range and he's missing them, if he can get knocked off of his rhythm. It's always an important thing, the kicking game. And special teams is going to be important throughout all these games that we talk about. Even though we don't really go in depth on a team's special teams unit, punt returns, kick returns, and field goals are always going to be an important factor in the game. A lot of these NFL games come down to a field goal. And I'm sure whenever Vegas comes out with their line, they're going to favor the Seahawks in this game. Not by a huge margin, but I think that this is a team that Texans fans need to watch out for. We could easily go in there and lose this game because they have a talented roster and they are a difficult stadium to play in. So y'all know what's up. Drop your area codes in the chat. Tell me what you think is going to happen in this game. And tell me what kind of videos you want to see on this channel besides just the Texans. I'm going to be dropping an offensive, defensive rookie of the year video, so keep your eyes out for that. And then I'm going to see y'all in the next one. Peace out.